Today, football has become much more than a simple sport. It is no longer just a game on the pitch. It shapes everyday life, guides emotions, and produces identities. For many people, football structures their weekends, their conversations, and even their moods. Teams are more than colours. They carry a sense of belonging, a shared memory, and collective excitement. In this video, we will explore how football reached this point, why it holds such power in the modern world, and why people generate such intense emotions around it. We will look beyond scores and trophies and examine football through modernization, identity, and belonging. Because football is more than a game. It is one of the strongest collective rituals of the modern world. With industrial society, humans entered large crowds for the first time in history. Yet at the same time, they became isolated. Villages dissolved, communities dispersed, traditions withdrew. Humans became bodies on assembly lines, anonymous faces in cities. Modernization freed the individual, but also left them fragmented and rootless. Football emerged exactly at this breaking point. With the modern world came new pleasures, new excitements, and new realms. As traditional sources of meaning shrank, people sought new ways to satisfy themselves. This search found small, continuous thrills in everyday life. Football became a new toy for modern humans, but not an ordinary one, a game with rhythm, repetition, and continuity. Weekly matches, league standings, transfer rumors, and season calculations gave people more than just pastime. They offered hope for tomorrow, a sense of continuity, and a feeling of the future. In a life filled with uncertainty, people could create meaning through football. Weeks were divided by fixtures, time reorganized around match schedules. Victories brought joy, defeats brought disappointment. Life's rhythm intertwined with the game's rhythm. Thus, football is not just a sport. It is a space where modern individuals seek excitement, satisfaction, and identity. By identifying with a team, people find a point of belonging in a fragmented world. Amid factories, shifts, and discipline routines, people found a day to dress in the same colors and look in the same direction. Stands became the new communities of the modern world. There, people may not know each other, but they believed in the same thing. They rejoiced together and fell together. Football is a refuge against the isolation of modern life. Stadiums are not just sports arenas. They are spaces where identity, belonging, and collective memory are produced. When people have no control in their lives, they find strength in victories and meaning in defeats. Every chant in the stands is a reclaiming of lost voice. Football is not just entertainment. It is a source of fulfillment. It brings new pleasures. It creates heroes. It builds new myths. Modernization brought football into a new era. It is not just a sport. It became a mirror of society. Tensions in society, class conflicts, and identity divisions eventually seeped into football. The pitch, the stands, and the club became symbolic spaces where modern society reshaped itself. In the traditional world, belonging came from religion, community, and local ties. In the modern era, these were recreated in new forms. Football became one of the strongest tools for this representation. Through football, we can see how society is shaped, where its fault lines lie, and what identities it produces. Class, center-periphery relations, power, cultural elites, and feelings of exclusion all have been represented through football clubs. Thus, football is not just a game. It is part of how a society tells its story. The voices in the stands often have little to do with the play on the field. They express demands for justice, anger, the search for belonging, and a compensation for lost meaning. Football is one of the rare spaces where modern people can carry both their anger and their hope at the same time. One of the most striking examples of this is the rivalry between Glasgow Rangers and Celtic. This match is not just a derby between two football clubs. Celtic represents a legacy of Catholic Irish immigrants who came to Scotland in the 19th century, building a sense of community amid poverty and exclusion. Rangers, on the other hand, became a symbol of the Protestant majority, British identity, and the political centre. The Barcelona-Real Madrid match brings the tension between Catalan identity and the central state onto the field. Boca Juniors and River Plate symbolize class divisions and urban segregation in Argentina. In Italy, Juventus is linked with Torino's industrial bourgeoisie and the country's northern centres. Napoli represents the South's deprivation, exclusion, and resentment toward the centre. This contrast is not just sport. It reflects Italy's historical north-south divide on the pitch. In Spain, Athletic Bilbao is more than a football club. It is the symbol of Basque identity, locality, and cultural resistance. Insisting on players from their own region is a strong identity statement through football. In Germany, Bayern Munich represents success, discipline, and economic power. Borussia Dortmund stands for working-class culture, collective solidarity, and mass fan experience. All these examples clearly show why football cannot be seen as just a sport. The voices rising in the stands are often independent of the game. They express demands for justice, anger, the search for belonging, and the attempt to reclaim lost meaning, tensions that are suppressed, invisible, or unspoken in society, emerge in the stands, in symbols, and in rituals. That is why football is not just a game. It is a space where modern people put on display their identity, their anger, their hope, and their sense of belonging. One of the areas where football has become most visible in the modern world is the international stage. The World Cup and continental competitions allow countries that have never met to face each other on the same stage. These encounters are not just sporting contests. They are ways for societies to present themselves to the world. Through football, people begin to understand other nations, not through diplomatic statements or political power, but through playing styles, jerseys, and conduct on the field. For countries that are not part of the global political and economic center, football provides visibility and representation. Societies with limited military or economic power have been able to express themselves on equal ground through the football pitch. For these nations, football has become a symbolic arena of balance within global hierarchies. This is especially true for African countries in the post-colonial era. Long suppressed and marginalized societies have been able to assert their presence on the world stage through football. National teams have become carriers of post-independence identity, national pride, and collective confidence. The performances of countries like Cameroon, Nigeria, Senegal, and Ghana in international tournaments are read not only as sporting achievements, but also as symbolic responses to historical inequalities. Every match won on the field becomes a powerful story, showing that a position defined by colonial history can be overcome. Similarly, countries like Argentina and Brazil have defined themselves on a global scale through football. Independent of economic or political power, their style of play speaks to the world. For these nations, football is not just about winning. It is about existing, being visible, and being recognized. Today, football has largely become part of an industrialized structure. Broadcasting revenues, global brands, and corporatized clubs. The game has increasingly become more planned, more controllable, and more commercial. In this process, football has moved, to some extent, away from its original social context and historical weight. The language of the stands has simplified. Allegiances have turned into marketable identities. clubs have gradually drifted away from being actors that tell the stories of cities and communities. Yet, this transformation has not erased football's emotional power. Beneath the industrial structure, the old instincts remain. Crowds still rise to their feet at a goal, stand still, fall silent at a defeat, and people still place hope in a match week after week. Football, even in an age where the modern world measures everything, continues to produce uncontrollable emotions. Perhaps the question is not what football is, but what it has become. Because even though football has turned into an industry today, people still watch it in search of meaning, belonging, and hope. Football, despite all the transformations of the modern world, still offers a powerful window into understanding humanity.